2 nails, a handful of wet dirt. And electricity that costs nothing, expires never, and cannot be shut off by anyone. Not a theory, not a prototype, not a fringe experiment running in a university basement somewhere. A documented, field-tested, government-confirmed technology that powered real infrastructure across the United States. A technology so simple that a child can build it in 20 minutes with materials from any hardware store. And a technology so threatening to the business model of modern energy that it was quietly removed from public conversation. Scrubbed from survival manuals and buried so deep beneath layers of corporate language that most engineers alive today have never heard its name. The global energy industry generates over $4 trillion every single year. Every dollar of that revenue depends on one foundational assumption: that you cannot make electricity yourself, that power is complicated, that power is expensive, that power requires a grid, a meter, and a monthly bill. 2 nails and wet dirt destroy that assumption completely. They did not stop using it because it failed. They stopped promoting it because it worked. And what cannot be metered cannot be monetized. This is the story of the Earth battery, the oldest electrical generator in recorded history, the technology that powered federal telegraph lines in 1848. The device that a farmer in Kentucky used to transmit wireless voice in 1902, 20 years before commercial radio existed. The invention the War Department quietly classified in 1943, not because it was dangerous, but because it was free. Welcome to Fixvival. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now. This channel opens the vaults they thought were sealed forever. Let me take you back to where this all begins. The year is 1841, Edinburgh, Scotland. A small workshop on the edge of the city. The man sitting at the workbench is not a famous scientist. He has no university degree, no institutional funding, no powerful patrons backing his research. His name is Alexander Bain. Bain is a clockmaker with an obsession that his neighbors consider somewhere between eccentric and dangerous. He's been reading everything about electricity. Galvani's work on animal electricity, Volta's experiments with metal and acid. He's convinced that these principles exist in the ground beneath his feet. One afternoon in late autumn, Bain walks into the damp soil behind his workshop and pushes 1 copper rod and 1 zinc rod into the earth. He connects a wire between them and attaches a small galvanometer, a device that measures electrical current. The needle moves, not a flicker, a steady, sustained, continuous current flowing from the earth itself. No acid, no flame, just 2 metals and wet ground. Bain files a patent that same year, patent number 9363, the Earth battery. He immediately understands the implications and scales up. By 1843, Bain demonstrates that Earth batteries can power telegraph lines without any conventional power source. The telegraph can run on dirt. Now let me take you even further back, because Bain did not discover this principle, he rediscovered it. In 1938, archaeologists near Baghdad uncover a clay jar 5 inches tall. Inside is a copper cylinder with an iron rod. It dates to 250 BC. Researchers later fill a replica with grape juice and measure the output. The device produces between 1.5 and 2 volts of electricity. Someone in ancient Mesopotamia understood that 2 different metals separated by a liquid generate electrical potential. It is a law of physics. Now move forward to 1892, a farm in Kentucky. A man named Nathan Stubblefield is doing something his neighbors find difficult to explain. On a cold January morning, witnesses hear his voice transmitted wirelessly from a device 50 feet away. No wires, just earth batteries. Stubblefield demonstrates this in Washington, D.C. in 1902, transmitting voice across the Potomac River. The power source is dirt. No major corporation invests. He dies alone in 1928, penniless. His devices are destroyed. His patents expire without commercialization. In 1848, the United States government used earth batteries to power the early American telegraph network. This is documented in official reports. Federal infrastructure running on 2 metals and wet ground, and then, quietly, it disappeared. Now let me show you exactly why this works, because the science is as clean and elegant as anything in physics. The principle is called galvanic reaction. It is one of the most thoroughly documented phenomena in all of electrochemistry. It is taught in first-year chemistry courses at every university. And what is not taught is how to apply it with 2 nails and garden soil. Here's the core principle. When 2 metals with different electrochemical potentials are placed in contact with an electrolyte, any substance that conducts ions, electrons flow spontaneously from the more reactive metal toward the less reactive metal. That flow of electrons is electrical current. This is not a hypothesis. It is described by the electrochemical series, a ranked table of metals by their tendency to release electrons. It is one of the most rigorously confirmed relationships in science. The series has never once been wrong in over 200 years of testing. Soil is a natural electrolyte. It contains dissolved mineral salts, water molecules, organic acids, and literally billions of microorganisms. Every handful of healthy forest floor is a chemically active medium perfectly structured to carry the ion transfer that drives a galvanic reaction. The voltage output depends entirely on which 2 metals you choose. Zinc paired with copper generates approximately 1.1 volts per cell. Magnesium paired with copper pushes closer to 2 volts. Aluminum and copper produce approximately 1.5 volts. These numbers are measured constants. A single cell, one zinc electrode and one copper electrode pushed into moist soil, does not produce much usable power on its own. But the beauty of galvanic cells is that they follow the same rules as any battery. Connect them in series, and the voltages add together. 10 zinc copper cells connected in series generate between 8 and 11 volts. 15 cells push past 12 volts, the threshold for USB charging. 20 cells in series produce enough voltage and current to run LED lighting through an entire night or charge a smartphone multiple times. A research team at the University of Wisconsin measured sustained output from soil-based galvanic cells over a continuous 90-day period. The cells showed less than 12% degradation across 3 full months. Compare that to a conventional alkaline battery losing charge unused. The ground beneath the average campsite is already a functioning electrolyte, waiting for nothing but 2 pieces of dissimilar metal. In 2015, a team at MIT demonstrated that microbial fuel cells could power remote agricultural sensors for over a year with zero maintenance. The science is not experimental. It is settled. What remains unsettled is why this produces 0 commercial products available today. Now here is where the story turns. The global battery industry generates over $150 billion in annual revenue. That is not a misprint. $150 billion every single year, selling you devices that degrade, corrode, leak, expire, and require constant repurchasing. The average American household spends more than $150 annually on disposable batteries alone. Multiply that by 130 million households. Add the commercial market, portable power stations, solar accessories, and emergency backup power. The architecture rests on one premise. You cannot generate your own electricity. That power requires proprietary chemistry locked inside a sealed container, sold at retail margins, degrading on a schedule that guarantees your return. Now consider what the Earth battery represents. The raw materials cost under $2. The electrolyte is the ground you're standing on. There is no expiration date because the electrochemical reaction renews itself continuously as long as soil moisture is present. There is no proprietary chemistry to protect. There is no manufacturing process to patent. The electrochemical series is a law of nature. You cannot trademark a law of nature. You cannot build a $150 billion industry around something a 12-year-old can assemble with galvanized nails. By 1943, as the War Department standardized materials, Earth battery technology made a quiet exit from American engineering curricula. Not banned, not debunked, because it could not be debunked. It simply stopped appearing, removed from survival manuals and engineering textbooks for 8 decades. The same logic that removed passive solar heating from standards applied here. You do not need to suppress technology loudly. Just stop teaching it. In 1978, regulatory changes allowed battery manufacturers to list chemistries under proprietary trade names. The language of the industry became deliberately opaque. Basic galvanic chemistry became advanced lithium polymer technology. Same fundamental physics, different vocabulary, dramatically higher price point. One generation without the knowledge, and the market dependence locks itself in place permanently. The history remains hidden in plain sight. But the knowledge did not die. It went underground, appropriately enough. In 2012, a researcher at Harvard University published a peer-reviewed paper on microbial fuel cells that function as enhanced Earth batteries. The study documented sustained electrical output from soil-based cells powerful enough to run small electronic devices continuously. The paper was cited over 300 times in academic journals across the following decade. 300 academic citations, 0 consumer products. The science community confirmed the technology repeatedly. The commercial world produced nothing from it. Independent makers and off-grid builders have been quietly documenting Earth battery builds online for years. A machinist in rural Oregon runs his workshop's LED lighting entirely from a 40-cell copper zinc earth array buried in his backfield. He built it in 2019 for under $12 in materials. It has required 0 maintenance beyond occasional moisture checks. A backcountry guide in northern Manitoba uses a 15-cell Earth battery as a backup charging system on extended wilderness trips, keeping satellite communicators charged without additional power equipment. His total material weight is under 4 ounces. A preparedness community in rural Tennessee has installed Earth battery arrays as part of a neighborhood emergency power grid, providing baseline lighting for 12 households. The system costs less than $40 in copper wire and galvanized hardware. The knowledge is not lost. The knowledge is simply not for sale. In an economy built on selling you what you can make yourself, that distinction is the difference between a product and a threat. Here's exactly what to do. Pay close attention because this is the part they never wrote down for you. You will need 2 materials from any hardware store, 14 gauge solid copper wire and standard galvanized steel nails. The galvanized coating is zinc. Those are your 2 electrodes. Total cost at any hardware store is under $2. You will also need basic insulated wire for connecting cells, and a small voltage regulator if you intend to charge USB devices. Voltage regulators are essential for protecting sensitive electronics from voltage irregularities. Find a patch of ground with moist, mineral-rich soil. Forest floors, garden beds, and ground near streams are ideal. Avoid sandy soil or gravel. The moister and more mineral-dense the soil, the better your output will be. Cut your copper wire into strips approximately 6 inches long. These are your copper electrodes. Push 1 copper strip and 1 galvanized nail into the soil roughly 4 inches apart from each other. Bury both at least 3 inches deep, leaving enough exposed at the surface to attach connecting wire. That single pair is 1 cell. In good moist soil, it will produce between 0.8 and 1.1 volts. Now build your series chain. Run a connecting wire from the copper electrode of cell 1 to the zinc nail of cell 2. Continue this pattern across your entire array. Each cell contributes its voltage to the running total. 10 cells will give you roughly 8 to 11 volts. 15 cells will push you past 12 volts. Connect your voltage regulator to the final terminals, and you have a functioning USB charging circuit. For camping and backcountry use, the full setup takes approximately 20 minutes. Bring pre-cut copper strips and a handful of galvanized nails in a small zip bag. Total weight is negligible. For a fixed installation at a cabin or homestead, build a larger array in a garden bed or a shaded ground area. 30 cells will give you enough voltage and current to run LED strip lighting and charge communication devices, without any fuel, any panels, and any dependence on an external grid. If output drops during dry conditions, pour water directly over the electrode sites to restore full output. Replace galvanized nails every 4 to 6 weeks, as the zinc coating erodes. The copper electrodes last indefinitely. This is not a replacement for grid power. It is a replacement for batteries, the disposable, expiring product that the portable power industry has sold you your entire life. The fuel has been beneath your feet the entire time. Here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. Alexander Bain pushed 2 rods into Scottish soil in 1841 and watched a needle move. He understood in that instant that the earth itself was a power source. Electricity was not a commodity to be manufactured and sold, but a force already present in the natural world, waiting for the right geometry of metals. Nathan Stubblefield buried coils in a Kentucky field and transmitted human voice wirelessly while everyone around him bought wire and generators. He died with nothing. But the physics he demonstrated never stopped being true. A clay jar from 250 BC sitting in a museum in Baghdad still produces voltage when you fill it with acidic liquid. The 2,300-year-old circuit still works. The electrochemical series does not expire. The galvanic reaction does not require a subscription. The Earth battery was not suppressed because it was dangerous. It was not removed from textbooks because it was wrong. It was erased from the public conversation because it represented something that the modern energy economy cannot tolerate. A power source that belongs to no one, costs nothing, and cannot be metered, monopolized, or made into a margin. What the industry built over the following century was not a better power source. It was a better story. A story in which electricity is complicated, fragile, and always just out of reach without the right product. A story in which 2 nails and wet dirt is a children's science fair experiment, not a legitimate power generation method. That story cost you every battery you have ever purchased, every power bill you have ever paid, every generator you have ever filled with fuel. The chemistry beneath your feet was never going anywhere. No corporate decision, no textbook revision, no marketing budget can change a law of electrochemistry. The galvanic series was true before the first power company was incorporated. It will be true long after the last one closes. Some knowledge does not disappear. It waits. It waits in a 183-year-old patent filed by a clockmaker in Edinburgh. It waits in a Kentucky farmhouse where a farmer transmitted voice wirelessly to a crowd of stunned witnesses. It waits in a clay jar buried under 2 millennia of desert sand. The ground beneath you right now contains everything you need to generate electricity without asking anyone's permission. 2 nails, wet dirt, a wire connecting them in series. The vault is open. Subscribe and share this before they remember to close it again.